Coming up on episode 138 of Anarcho Agenda, how will we know when justice is truly served? Plus, much more. This podcast is covered by the BIPCOT no government license. This allows for use and reuse by anyone except governments and or government agents. Learn more at bipcot.org. When I was a child, I had an experience where I wanted something so badly, it affected my dreams. This is episode 138 of Anarcho Agenda. I'm Riley Blake. I don't remember how old I was. I was probably around the age of 3 or 4, and my younger brother and I were playing with a plastic Easter egg, of all things. Kids play with strange things. Me especially. And one day we were playing with it, we put it together, and it made what he called a sandwich. I was probably 5 at this time, now that I think about it, because he was able to talk. And there was part of me that wanted that egg so badly. I don't know why. But my mom decided that it would be best to not have me have the egg, but instead have us share parts of the egg. Perhaps there's a lesson there. But that's not what I want to focus on right now, or for this episode of the show. I wanted justice. And in my mind, justice was getting the entire egg so my brother would have nothing. All for a plastic Easter egg. In the MAGA world, there are some themes of justice that they want served. The big one I've read about online is mass deportations. They want quote-unquote illegals rounded up and deported to wherever they came from. And yet, it's at least once or twice a week that I hear a story from a reputable news source saying that the so-called government has rounded up a citizen of the United States and has tried to deport them. In some cases, maybe they're actually born in the United States and actually have birthright citizenships, or have been here for so long that they don't even know what their country of origin is. And so the MAGA movement wants them deported and sent back, perhaps to a foreign land, at whose expense? Yours and mine. I realize a lot of people don't like sharing their land and sharing areas with people. It's hard. It's hard to share. But also forcing people to share is a bad idea. People love the idea of knowing what's theirs, knowing what they own. And in the case of MAGA, a lot of them believe that this country, the United States of America, is theirs. They own it. Now, I'm a firm believer in property rights. I believe that you have the right to manage your own property. If you want to leave it pristine, leave it pristine. If not, then don't. But I don't want to leave my property pristine. I want to plant marijuana on it. I want to grow and harvest marijuana to sell to someone down the street. But a group of strangers has said I can't. Now, if I want people to come on my land and live on my land who don't have the proper paperwork issued by a so-called authority, aka government, I can't do that because someone half a country away has said I can't. The absurdity of paperwork and government has become this ideological religion that has become a hammer. People want mass deportations. They want to do it to their satisfaction. But what is their satisfaction? How will they know it? Are they going to be driving down the street and see a Native American or a black man or a Hispanic American and be like, he needs to go right now? Where does it end? And how will we know it has ended? Are we going to wait for the government to say so? I don't trust the organization type known as government. I've read Animal Farm. I've read 1984. I know how this can go. So while you're screeching online about mass deportations, remember what you're handing an entity that never gives up power. Where is it going to stop? Are they going to start demanding that everyone carries their paperwork? Everyone has to have their green card on them. Everyone has to have their identification on them. If you're stopped and harassed by a man with a badge or a woman with a badge, you have to produce your papers. Is this the America you really want to live in? It's certainly the American I don't want to live in. I can't imagine the founding fathers of the United States of America being like, well, we need to make sure everyone has the proper paperwork and the proper paperwork to come to a plot of land. The Native Americans certainly didn't ask for paperwork. And if we're going back to property rights, many of them may have prior ownership claims to this land, but they were driven off. And so the white Europeans have claimed it for themselves. And that's true for everything. Property can change hands multiple times. And fortunately or unfortunately, a man with a gun or a woman with a gun can come by and shoot me and say, I now own this property. Okay, maybe they do. Or maybe a family member might come along and say, no, you don't. We actually own it because it's our family's. This is where arbitration is handy. I don't want to get stuck in the weeds of arbitration and property rights, but I do want to point out that in the mind of the MAGA movement, justice is a pure America. A pure America where everyone has the proper paperwork and they've gone through quote-unquote legal channels. What are those legal channels? Can you tell me what those legal channels are? The argument could be made that if we want to change the legal channels, then we should do it properly. Okay. But remember, government is a gun. It doesn't matter how much you want to use it. It does matter who wields it. In this case, it may be your flavor of authoritarian cult, but it certainly isn't mine. The state is all-powerful and not all-destructive. Do not give it any more. If you have to start carrying your identification papers on you in the United States of America, the land of the free, it's time for secession. I want nothing more to do with your country. I'd rather be around people who advocate for independence, for secession. And luckily there is a movement here in New Hampshire that is doing just that. In this digital age, your information is everywhere on the internet, ready to be used by bad actors. From your social security number to where you live, even your bank details may be out there. It is purely the mere number of others in the same camp that has protected the majority. For nearly 2 decades, ThinkPenguin.com has been developing solutions to protect your privacy. Take back your privacy by going to ThinkPenguin.com and buying Linux-based hardware and software to get back some resemblance of your digital privacy. That's ThinkPenguin.com. Jeffrey Epstein has been a hot topic in the news lately because evidently he did not kill himself. Evidently. Now, I've heard there's missing video footage and things don't add up in his case, but evidently he didn't kill himself, and that's according to the FBI. The FBI, the all-trusted, all-powerful, all-knowing intelligence agency, the FBI. Does anyone trust the FBI anymore? Because I sure don't. They've raided my friends' homes. They've flown drones in my friends' houses. They've driven tanks into my friends' houses. All for what? A victimless crime? Yeah, exactly. Trumpites are all about loving the feds and loving the FBI because they're now wielding the gun. And they get to use the government gun to go after their least favorite people. Where's the justice in that? Where is the justice in political warfare? Well, the left did it too. Of course they did, because they're following your example, and they're going to do it again because they're following your example. I don't know what the answer is to Epstein. And quite frankly, I understand the outrage of child molesters going free. Because who wants to harm children? Because who wants to see people harming children go free? Hanging millstones around their neck might be a better choice than to let them go free. And yet, The FBI is a prime example of cover-up, misinformation, disinformation. And I, for one, can't trust it. There is no answer here. It's just a distraction. It's just a distraction to keep us fighting amongst ourselves, to keep us distracted from governments gaining power, authority, control, domination, surveillance. Coming to New Hampshire, I have met people from all walks of life. Not just people in the Free State Project, not just libertarians, but people from many walks of life, because I associate with people in the community around me. I attend a church fairly regularly. I spend time outside the libertarian circle because to me, being among other people who don't think like me helps me understand the world better. And yet, there are libertarians that I know and free staters that I know who want ideological purity. You can't be here unless you think exactly like me. And I get it. We want people who think like us, act like us, pray like us, and believe exactly the way we do. Where I come down on this is I would say that I am willing to have anyone come to where I live who is willing to understand a couple principles. The first is don't harm anybody unless it's in self-defense, and don't take people's stuff. If we can agree to these two things, as though we are children, mind you, we can begin to have a relationship. We can begin to be friends. We can live together. We can associate with each other. But the moment you claim your authority over me, the moment you claim to own my stuff without my consent, is the moment I say, I'm out. I would rather have a nuanced relationship with people around me than an ideologically driven one. To me, that is the only path forward. Yes, we're human. We're going to make mistakes. But if we can agree to follow certain principles, namely, don't hurt anybody, don't take their stuff, we can go from there. Let's work from there. Let's have discussions of property rights. Let's have discussions of what constitutes funding a government, if you will, for lack of a better word, if you want one. I would prefer to see people govern themselves. I want that portion of society who knows that they can govern themselves and will govern themselves and wants to be left alone to come to where I live. But I also understand I can't enforce ideological purity. But we should be able to have a nuanced conversation about where we stand on things and what principles we are willing to abide by. To that end, I definitely support freedom to travel, freedom to be where you want to be, and freedom to associate. I don't believe ideological purity is going to solve this issue or create better neighbors. Like many Christian traditions, the tradition of Mormonism was a tradition rooted in apocalyptical thinking. The coming of Jesus is just around the corner. We need to prepare for his second coming. We need to prepare now. I know this because Russell Nelson, the current president of the LDS Church, has said that the time is now. We need to prepare now. Time is running out. That being said, I don't think time is running out to prepare for Jesus' coming. I don't even know if Jesus is coming back. I hear this talk all the time. And my attitude right now is, until it happens, I'm not going to buy it. Until you can adequately demonstrate to me that, number one, Jesus is here, and number two, he is actually for you and for your team, I'm not going to buy it. That is the evidence I am willing to accept. It better not be some schizophrenic guy on the street either. How are we going to tell that? Well, I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe a mental health counselor can help us figure that out. For most of my life, I have been longing for this event to happen. Perhaps in my mind it meant getting my vision back, my sight back, ending depression and anxiety, ending suffering, ending things that I felt were unjust in my life, and having perpetual peace. What a beautiful experience, right? The King of Kings and Lord of Lords is coming back, and he's going to set everything to right. Every tongue will confess that he is the king. Every knee shall bow, I was told. Yet, it's 2025. Trump, Biden, Obama, Bush, Clinton, all of these so-called presidents have been evil and corrupt. There's part of me that just wants it to end. But as I reflect about it, I realize that suffering is a catalyst. Suffering is a tool in our toolbox. Not for us to dwell on necessarily. Not for us to be forced into this idea of I'm going to suffer forever and I should be this perpetual victim. But it's a tool, a springboard. Here's an example. Let's say that you had a fiance, or you were closely dating somebody, or you were married and your partner died by suicide. What would you do? You would definitely grieve over that death for sure. As you make progress in your life, as you make different choices, as you choose to try and take one step forward every day to make your life better, not to close that wound in your heart, not to fill in that crack with dirt and clay and mud, but to find something stronger to cling to. And that thing that's stronger is hope. Hope for a better day. And eventually you will come out on top. Here I am getting off on a tangent. But we long for something to end. We long for the end of suffering. And in my example, using grief as a catalyst to elevate you, to push you forward in a different direction in life. Perhaps it's moving clear across the country to have a different life altogether and meet new people. But regardless, that suffering that you're experiencing is a catalyst. Perhaps you've lost your job, or perhaps you're searching for a job and everything is just not working out. Develop new skills on the side. Have side hustles here and there. That way when you find your dream job, you still have these side hustles and you've developed skills and you've made new friends. I'm speaking to myself, of course, because I'm the only one in this room and perhaps no one is listening to this and perhaps I'm the only one that's going to listen to this. But I think it's important to remember that the end of suffering isn't going to happen. Suffering ends when you choose to make it into a catalyst, a tool, a weapon to guide you, to hone you, to make you a better human being. So maybe there is no Jesus coming back to end suffering. But perhaps in our personal lives, we need to share ourselves with other people. We need to reach out to our neighbors, find out their burdens, maybe help carry them a little bit. I'm a firm advocate of ending victim mentality and not living like a victim. But perhaps the people living like victims haven't been heard or seen in a while. Perhaps you should listen to them for a bit. Perhaps I should listen to them for a bit. At the end of the day, I don't know if Jesus is coming back. I don't know if he's going to force every knee to bow and every tongue to confess that he is the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. But I do know one thing. I can make choices to live a different life, and so can you. We can choose differently. We don't have to live in this political theater and this ideological war that we're living in. We can choose to gather and create something different. So maybe we should. Maybe we should do that and stop advocating for government to do it for us. Let's not enshrine it in law, but in culture. So without government, we're doing it already. Sometimes we may wish for that asteroid to come, wipe everything out, so we can get a clean start and not have to worry about finding a job tomorrow, paying bills, having to deal with that annoying neighbor, or that annoying immigrant that perpetually hides from our favorite government. We may wish for that to come, but perhaps this is meant as a teacher for us to learn to love. And maybe I just sound like a hippie. Maybe I just sound insane, and that's okay too. This concludes episode 138 of Anarcho Agenda. I'm Riley Blake. If you like my content, you can support me on Patreon at patreon.com/crblake86. That's patreon.com/crblake86. Don't forget to check out my sponsor, Think Penguin, at thinkpenguin.com and take care of all your technological privacy needs. Thank you very much for listening. Catch you next episode. Worms.